It's very important to focus on your product, and you'd see here So we launched another campaign which is called Atithi Devo Bhava to train taxi drivers, guides, etc. so that they could again become, and tourist arrivals really grew from about 2.2 million to about 6 million, but more important was that earnings grew very substantially. And that grew from about 2.2 billion to about close to 12 billion US dollars. So in terms of earnings, we started getting richer tourists. We started getting tourists who planned their holidays, came in and spent about 15 to 18 to 20 days in India. And then, again, as I said, all of us in life have to be prepared for a crisis. While the goal was very good, again we were hit by economic recession, and again we were hit by 26/11 in 2008, the attack, and again tourism declined. But it's very important that for you people to realize that the world will change. It will constantly change, it will constantly evolve, and every crisis is also an opportunity. And there are several things happening in the world, and one of which is what Jim O'Neill, who was an economist, who predicted that actually the world will be driven not by the Western nations, but by Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And actually these countries will become the key drivers of the world, and these are broad trends. It's very important to realize the impact of demographic changes which are taking place, and that is India will be a very young country, and this is a transition which rarely ever happens in history when 70% of your population is very young, whereas Germany, Italy, France, USA will all be old populations. And in America today, 8,000 Americans are retiring every day. So you have a situation whereas the Western world will be a very old population, whereas India will be a very young population. It's very important to discern this. There will be a huge rise of urban middle classes, and that's why you have 15 million people using mobile telephones, buying new mobile telephones a month. The growth of credit cards is at the rate of about 40% a month. So that is the kind of a huge power which is going to be in the new rising middle class of India. And this is very much like what the baby boomers did, what is now known as the Beatles generation did in UK in the early 1960s. They brought in new styles, new consumer trends, and they actually drove consumerism in Britain. And that is, in many ways, is what the urban middle classes in India will do. And there will be a huge impact of climate changes in India. There will be technological changes. All of us will get used to working out of one instrument, and that will be your mobile telephony. You will be doing your bookings. You will be handling everything through your mobile telephony. And it's very important to realize all this, because these will be the key trends which will drive the global economy. The Indian travel and tourism sector is still very untapped, and it's very untapped because if you look at the world market in software is just 500 billion, the tourism market is 4.6 trillion. The worldwide employment in software is 20 million, whereas in tourism is 250 million. So it's a huge market, and I think if India has to grow with employment, if India has to grow with equity, then tourism will play a very major role. As far as India's brand power is concerned, there's the soft power and there is a hard power. And many of you would slowly learn about this, that in branding, hard power is largely related to your strength as a manufacturing, and the soft power relates to your culture. And India has several strong strength in terms of its heritage, in terms of its culture, in terms of its cricket, its cuisine, and there's a hard power. But India is one of the rare few countries which have a very good amalgamation and a very good mix of both the hard and the soft power. The second thing which is very important is that workers' housing must come along with this transportation growth. If you don't have workers' housing, you'll have slums. I said about some of the innovative things that have happened, but what I talked about transportation network is very important, and to my mind, the biggest thing in making new cities is the master planning. The master planning holds the key. Because we must realize that Barcelona and Atlanta both were made at the same point of time in history. And go back to what Barcelona has done today. Atlanta will have to make 2,584 new metro stations. So you can't reverse the process of master planning. And that is why, to my mind, it's very important that we do good master planning. Now, Gurgaon city has been made by either DLF or ANSERS or Unitech. The government failed in its job to do good master planning. And I think this is a failure of the government to do good master planning. Because good master planning would have enabled you to create a good transport system, create a good hierarchy of roads, and allow private builders to do their job of making good housing, which they have done. They have done. It's been a failure of the government. And I think the important thing is that when we embark on this process, very reluctantly, very late in the day, it's important for us to do good master planning and use good technology. And let me tell you honestly, that skill still doesn't exist in India. The skills for great integrated master planning, and we work with some of the great master planners from across the world who've created new cities. And we've tried to capture some of those principles. And I'll quickly try and run you through what we are trying to do, but it's important to realize that India's infrastructure story has just begun. In the next 3 to 4 decades, and this will be a lifetime before, right in front of the eyes of many of the students sitting here, who are students here, that we will be building and creating a totally new India, in the next 3 to 4 decades, we will be building an India which we have not built for the last 5,000 years.
I'm sure everybody was totally taken by what you have given us. Tourism was very entertaining. You built up a very nice storyline giving a message, and what you said about the planning, I'm sure